Hello and welcome to the Nope There's Only Trash Here podcast, episode 6. The date today is the 14th of April 2013, and joining me is a fellow Let's Player. He's also British, so...
Woo!
Yeah, England, England, as the kids like to say.
They do.
I don't say it, but some people do.
Only losers say that.
Yeah, I hate
We're not losers.
No, we're cool people. Just
Yeah.
a couple cool guys.
Exactly.
Yeah. It might be confusing because we're like, you don't sound like me, I don't think, but I would think that people on the internet, you know, American kids,
Yes.
they might get a bit confused.
I've had comments saying I sound like, obviously, Simon from Yogscast.
Okay.
That's the general one. And then Ricky Gervais.
Really?
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Because he was from Reading, and you're not from Reading, obviously.
No.
You don't have that accent. That's weird.
Yeah.
And it's MrMuckluckable who.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the one and only. It didn't need to be said. They already know. They
Hello.
actually know. AKA Joe, because obviously I'm going to be calling you Joe, because no offense.
I hate my actual name, so yeah, Joe's better.
Where did that name come from? Just, I need to ask. I think you've answered this before, but...
I blame YouTube, okay? When you pick a name... No, wait. Is it YouTube or is it Google? When you make a Google account...
Okay.
I wanted to pick a username, and it kept on... Because Muckluck was taken. That's what I wanted. So it kept on adding little bits for me. So like, try Mr. Muckluck. I was like, okay, still no. Then it added on something else. I was like, okay, let's just keep going with this. And eventually it became that.
Okay.
So I blame YouTube.
Oh, well, they're not great, you know.
Overrated,
not great,
really.
but yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned the Yodcast things, because before we get into the actual podcast, I can't remember his name, but I've been told by multiple people I sound like Kevin, I want to say, something like that. I can't remember the name because I don't watch Yogscast, but I actually do sound like the guy when I kind of checked it out.
Really?
Yeah, because somebody left a comment on one of my Let's Plays saying, hey, you sound just like that Yogscast guy. So I was like, yeah, this guy's just obviously, you know, he's just messing around. And then I listened to it and I was like, yeah, that kind of does a little bit. I won't.
So there's a guy called Kevin in Yogscast now?
Well, I don't think he is actually called Kevin. I just don't watch Yogscast, so I can't remember his name. But he was one of the main guys, because I watched one of the episodes where it was they were telling a story about they went to a beach, and then because one of the guys was in like a Superman shirt, somebody thought he was, you know, mentally handicapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the other guy who was like kind of telling the story.
Wasn't he Scottish? I'm getting mixed up now. Last time I watched Yogscast, there was about 3 people. Now there seems to be about 100 in this massive business.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't watch Minecraft videos, but they're everywhere. I see their accounts, I see their videos everywhere, even though I don't watch any of their videos.
Yeah.
And I don't check them out, so...
They've infiltrated every corner of YouTube.
Yeah, man, it's kind of, you know, good for them.
Yeah, they must be raking it in.
They got it done. They're
good for them.
Big success story.
Yeah, at least they've worked from the ground up, though, by themselves. You've got to give it to them for that.
Yeah, they're definitely, you know... There's some YouTubers where you're like... Or the big ones where you're like... I can respect them even if I'm not into their videos.
Yeah. And
I don't want to slag anyone off, but there's also the people who you're kind of like, not so much, without naming names.
Yeah, no names needed, but yeah, we all know what you mean.
Yeah, we all know the people I'm attacking.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, enough for, you know.
That's a big tangent.
That was, but, you know, letting the people know who you are and who I am. Although I hope they know who I am at this point, but...
It'd be a bit awkward if they didn't.
Yeah, that would not be good. But so let's get into the first part of the podcast, which is gaming news. Now, the big news this week is Batman Arkham Origins has been announced. It's going to be the 3rd title in the Batman Arkham series, you'll kind of have to call it at this point. Although that's kind of a bit of an awkward name. And it's going to be coming out this October, I believe October 25th or 21st, it's one of those. And it'll be coming out on, I think, the PS3, 360, PC and Wii U. So that's pretty cool. But the big news about it, the interesting thing, you know, it's a prequel and that's pretty cool, but the big change here is that it's not being made by Rocksteady. Because of course Rocksteady was the whole reason people cared about this series and made it kind of popular, but they're handing it off to one of their, you know, internal kind of game development studios. So I mean, we talked about this a bit before, but you haven't actually played the Batman Arkham games, have you?
No. I've watched videos. I've read a lot about them. They do look like such good games. They did really polish them, didn't they? Those two.
Well, they were definitely, even if you weren't a big fan of Batman, you could still pick them up and enjoy them because, I don't read the comic books. I'll be perfectly honest. I just like the films and I like good games as well. And these were definitely two good ones. But
yeah, I think that's why people like them as well, is because they did pay attention to the comic stuff. So even like for really diehard fans, there's small details in there that they can understand.
Yeah, that's definitely something that was kind of cool about them because comic book universes are weird because there's like so many different ones, and especially with all the different mediums, you got like the games, they make a universe for it, and you got the films, they make a universe, then you'll have like a different film that's a different universe. So
yeah,
I think people were happy that that these are based off the comic books, these games, but they're their own universe. So this game is going to be a prequel set. I can't remember. I don't think there was a date of it, but maybe like 10 years before the first game, and it's meant to be 8 assassins have been hired to kill Batman, so Batman has to fight them off and try and survive Gotham one last time. And I have to say, I've played the first two. I really love those games, and I really don't have a problem with Rocksteady not making it. Of course, they were the ones who made it successful, but I think they've got enough groundwork where someone else could come in and make a good version of it, because they've already done 2 games. So I think it'll definitely be interesting to see what new ideas this other company is going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I was reading about it, and they're saying that they're gonna keep the stuff that works, which is the combat. They say that's good, keep that stuff. So they're just going to add on, like kind of upgrades to it. Like they've took what Rocksteady has done, and they're just going to make it even better, which is good. I like the fact that they're admitting we don't need to change what's not broke.
Well, when it's the 3rd game in the series, you don't want to go too crazy, but
yeah,
because they were really good games. But I'll be honest, I know most people disagree. I wasn't blown away by Arkham City. It had a lot of good ideas. It was still a really enjoyable game, but I felt they tried to add in open world aspects, and I think a lot of them kind of fell flat. So I would like to see what they do with it, because I believe the producer of it is the same guy who's behind Prototype and also the Hulk game that came out a few years ago. So it'll be nice to see that sort of approach to doing an open world, but having the combat and kind of the style that Rocksteady's already established.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this Origins, they're saying it's going to be during Batman's first year of being the crime fighter, which has potential. I mean, that reminds me a lot of Batman Begins.
Yeah, so, and I mean, they did a really good job there.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's pretty good, because they could have gone back even further. But I mean, we've all seen the actual origins of Batman, so many times before that. I think him just starting out, that's like a really good place to start from, because all the villains are gonna, you can introduce those people, and I mean, I think it's just a really smart idea. And of course, we can't say if it's going to be good at this point, because there's been no official trailers, there hasn't been any gameplay videos, but from what I've read, everything sounds good, and this is definitely going to, should be a really good game.
It's looking promising, and I think once it comes out, this might be a good, because it's the beginner, almost. It might be a good place for people to step into the franchise, almost, if it's a prequel as well.
Well,
like me.
Yeah, definitely, but I think the odd thing about this, though, is it's coming out this October, but from what I can tell at this point in time, it's not coming out on PS4 or the new Xbox, which seems like, whenever there's a new console generation starting, there's always this awkward kind of phase. But I mean, do you think that's going to really affect this game at all, or maybe it might get swept under the rug?
There are always games that kind of, they finish a kind of generation of consoles, like
Mario Party 3, obviously.
When did GTA San Andreas come out?
I have it right here. Let's have a look. I think it was 2004.
Alright, so that's not
2004.
Okay, damn. That's not what I'm thinking at all. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes a really good game can finish off a cycle of consoles, and I think this could be possibly one of the ones to end them. So
well, were you trying to think of the one for the PS2?
Yeah.
I think I think most people would probably argue Metal Gear Solid 3, maybe?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that came... Let's have a look. I got that here too. I got a pile of PS2 games. That came out 2005, so that's got to be right on the edge there. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one. And yeah, this definitely could be that. But I mean, I'm just excited it's coming out on the Wii U because I'm really biased towards the Wii U. I'll admit that. And it's cool because... you know, a lot of these developers or publishers, they were saying, oh, we're going to put this game on the Wii U to see about the, you know, market and see, you know, if they're going to sell or if it's worth making games for these things. And I would assume the information they got back was like, no, nobody wants a Wii U. We shouldn't put our games on this thing. It's a waste of money. So, I mean, it's pretty cool that this is a brand new game and it's coming out on Wii U.
Yeah, it's going to be... You've always mentioned in these podcasts and the guests about how the Wii and Nintendo are going to try and grow back that hardcore, even though I hate really saying that, gamers, and this is going to be a good thing for that.
Yeah, because they also announced that, or Ubisoft announced that Splinter Cell Blacklist is coming on Wii U as well, and I guess Ubisoft are just trying to make up to the Wii U, you know, fans at this point because of the whole Rayman Legends scandal, but yeah, big stuff.
Oh.
That wasn't good, but yeah, there's Watch Dogs as well coming out on Wii U and got this Deus Ex, so going off a bit of a tangent there because I always like to bring it round to the Wii U, but I'm excited about the Wii U. What can I say? So that's actually there is also one more thing about this Batman game is that they've announced that they're doing a 3DS version of it. Do you have a 3DS, Joe?
I do not.
Oh well, it's
Oh.
fair enough. They're doing a 3DS version, and I kind of thought they were done doing these kind of, you know, these kind of portable version of these games, because, you know, back with the DS, it was such a big hit, the DS. You know, they always made the handheld version. That's why you can get every Call of Duty game on DS.
That's what I was thinking of, is these really awful Call of Duty ones. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and it's kind of cool that they're still going for it, because it's being made by Armature, I think they're called, which is this company who got made out of people who left Retro after making Metroid Prime. So that's definitely a good thing, because they're saying it's going to be a Metroid-style 2.5 Batman game. And straight away, that sounds awesome. Because I played Spider-Man Web of Shadows, and that was that kind of thing. It was Spider-Man, but Metroidvania stuff. So I'm also excited for that. But again, with 3DS games, you kind of have to be like, I'll wait until some footage of it comes out before saying it's any
basically,
good.
this whole Batman Arkham Origins is looking very promising.
All
of it.
Yeah,
even
definitely.
the 3DS bit.
So yeah, somehow, even the 3DS bit. So yeah, so that's about Batman, because of course there's no gameplay footage or anything like that. So let's move on to the second story of the week, and that's about this Microsoft creative director. I can't quite remember what his name is. It's Adam something.
Adam Orth.
Yeah, Adam Orth. And of course I ranted about this last week and insulted everyone on the internet and kind of got a bit too into it. But this week it's been confirmed that he has been fired. Now technically he hasn't been fired. He's just, you know, for no reason has left the company. So obviously they just came to him and said, yeah, you're gone, but we can't fire you for this, but like go away.
Yeah.
So I kind of talked about this a bit last week. So what are your kind of thoughts about this whole issue?
Well, to be honest, it's not really about what he said. It's what I see from this story, and similar stories like this, is that people still don't know how to use Twitter. No. Twitter is still quite a new thing, really, and people still aren't grasping that it has repercussions.
Yeah, I mean,
serious ones.
Because my whole problem with this whole story, or how it's now ended, is that you shouldn't get fired or lose your job because of something you tweeted. Now, of course, in some situations you can, if you're tweeting horrible racist things and exposing yourself to being a horrible racist, then yeah, maybe it's justified. But this guy didn't swear at anyone, he didn't go crazy on anyone, he didn't say anything that offensive, I wouldn't say. So it just seems crazy to me that he could get fired for just basically saying his opinion in kind of a, dickish way. Well,
there was something like someone said, what about when your electricity goes out or your internet? How about if you live in the big cities, you're fine because you're always going to have a connection. But what if you live in the tiny little American cities they were saying, like Janesville and Blacksburg.
Sure.
And he tweeted back, "Why on earth would I live there?" And I think people took that the wrong way, because I think maybe people from those places were offended, but I don't know.
All 5 of them were probably outraged. It was
with their pitchforks, they were very angry.
Definitely, but no, it's just kind of silly, because there is definitely a line when it comes to Twitter that you shouldn't cross. And I think the justification in him being fired is that, in a way, he was confirming as a Microsoft employee that this is the direction they were going in. Although at this point we can't say that it's definitely true, because it's all still rumours about this, staying online thing. So it's just silly, because he didn't confirm it. He was making points. He was reacting to people's, negative, thoughts about this. And actually, I kind of saw it his way a bit. He was making some good points. Sure, he didn't need to, do it in that way, but I don't know. I just don't like how much hate he's gotten for not really doing anything that bad.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you. On the internet culture, there's always a sense of entitlement. There was a sense of, you can't say that back to me.
Yeah, my opinion really matters.
The power people have behind a keyboard, it's very scary. Or the power they think they have, and it's yeah.
Well, the thing is, they do have that power. This guy lost his job because of this.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't. Like, they should tell him, shut down your Twitter account. If you want to work here, you can't be tweeting stuff out. You're making us look bad. But
or do it under a pseudonym. Yeah, do it under a different name. Don't. It's just. It's a kind of a warning to other people, I think, this story.
Yeah, he wasn't smart, but he shouldn't have to be smart when it comes to something like this. Because I can't even imagine, like, being in a career, working, I don't know if he's a hard worker, but obviously he was quite high up in Microsoft. So he, obviously probably wasn't a terrible employee and put a lot of effort into getting that job. And then one day seeing people just complaining on the internet and being like, oh, I'll throw in my 2 cents and, fight back a bit. And then it's like, gone. You're fired. You now have to get a new job. It's like, I don't think most people are thinking about it from his side. It's just because it's kind of absurd if you do that.
If you think about it from his side, it's actually a very sad story.
It's terrible.
I mean, I don't know where he's going to go on to. I mean, clearly he's not now laying in a gutter with a bottle in his hand. But still, maybe he needed that income for, maybe he's got a family, things like that. You don't know. People don't care.
I just don't like the idea of something like Twitter affecting people's life in a major way like this. It's social networking. You should only take it so seriously at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people, especially like the media, are just taking it way too seriously and don't realise that it's kind of just a stupid thing that people like to do. It's, in the same space where people are talking about what sandwich they had today, it shouldn't be the same space where people are losing their jobs. It just doesn't make sense.
The scary thing is, it's just going to get. I think it's going to get worse from this point on. I think these kind of things are going to happen more often. I
think it's just going to have to be what will probably happen is that certain people just won't be on Twitter anymore, or it'll just turn into this, because Twitter's great because there's like an honesty behind it. People do actually tweet kind of pretty interesting stuff, and then people just aren't going to do that anymore. They're just going to be like, well, I'm just going to tweet generic kind of stuff that nobody really cares about, and in the end this might take down Twitter because people just don't want to use it.
It's so weird, like you said in the last podcast about how the internet is supposed to be this amazing place for everyone to contribute to ideas and things, and it's kind of now reversing into what am I allowed to say now?
I remember listening back in the day to the Rooster Teeth podcast where something kind of similar happened. It wasn't Twitter, but it's something like that. And Bernie in that podcast made a good point that the internet has this weird mob mentality to it, where they kind of attack people. Like, they'll say terrible things about people because they have a different opinion, and it definitely does. What the internet should be is now been completely changed to this. If you don't agree, then you're just going to get these horrendous things said about you, and it's awful. Just awful.
It is awful. But what can you do? It's well, there are probably things you could do, but then you're going to get mobbed on again.
Yeah, so maybe this podcast is going to get mobbed on.
Oh God.
Probably not.
Run.
They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare come at me. All right, internet wouldn't dare. I'll come back at them.
Yeah, I'll be a few steps behind you.
Yeah, you're not all in with this. It's assault against the internet, fighting back.
I'll be behind the hill, just watching for a little bit.
Well, I can't blame you. Can't really blame you on that one. Okay, so the final bit of news we're going to be talking about, because there's been lots of small bits of news, but none of them are really too interesting, or we would just literally be stating that news and being like, yes, that is a thing that happened. So this kind of story has been building up over the last few weeks, where Sony recently have been making a big push towards indie developers, and most of them have been saying about how great the PS4 is. We've been seeing a lot more games on the PS Vita show up that are like indie games. You got games like Journey being a big success, but recently lots of indie developers have then been attacking Microsoft at the same time, saying that their whole process to publishing a game was just one massive headache, and they just don't really want to go through that. Now, I don't have the list of, because it's many different stories, I don't have the list of who attacked them, but it was a lot of indie developers have been saying this. So this week, the Behemoth, who are known for making Castle Crashers most famously, they've defended Microsoft, saying they had no problem with Microsoft, they didn't go through all this. And, well, pretty much it's kind of an interesting story that there's now this conflict between indie developers about, are Microsoft terrible? And I'm honestly not too sure what to think about all this, but I think ultimately it might lead to, with Sony doing so well with indie developers, if you want those sort of games which are on the up and up, you might have to go for a PS4.
From just judging from this story, just because I don't really know much about it, to be honest, but it kind of sounds as if now the indie developers have got something new and better, Sony. They're kind of going, oh well, what we had before sucks. But surely didn't Microsoft give them their first go?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. They didn't really, from what I can tell, what I've read, they were saying like, oh, we had to go through this whole process. Microsoft weren't that good, but it sounds like they're just annoyed that they had to go through the same process that other big games do. Now, Microsoft should be making it as easy as possible, but I mean, I don't know at this point in time if it's still difficult to be releasing an indie game, and it's just interesting because it now means that these indie developers, 10 years ago, no one would care. They would just people would laugh at them. But now they've got this weird power where, because any indie game could be a big hit, like Minecraft or Journey or things like that, they now have this power to say, we don't like Microsoft, or we love Sony.
It's a very weird role reversal, isn't it?
Yeah, it really does make
companies.
sense. Because it's all based on this potential they might have, but for every kind of small arcade hit that gets released, there's only there's about 10 that do okay, but then there's like one that will be a mega hit because it's a cheap game, but it's got a lot of polish to it. And I don't know where this hate for Microsoft has kind of come from, because every year they do the Summer of Arcade, where they openly promote the latest indie kind of games, Trials HD, things like that. They openly promote these games like Limbo. So, I mean, I can't speak for the indie developers because, I'm not involved in that business, not even close. But it seems like this probably is like a non-story, and at the end of the day, I don't think it will really affect, if indie developers are going to go to Microsoft.
No, as long as they've got somewhere to go, then they should be happy.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think Sony are making this big push for indie developers, and I think Nintendo are trying to make this big push as well with the Wii U and the eShop. So really, I don't think it will affect us as gamers. It won't really affect us. But I mean, if you really love those indie games, I still say it's the PS4 is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched the PS4 thingy,
big reveal,
the big reveal, there was that guy. Was it the guy who did Journey? He was on there. Was it him?
I'm not sure. There was the Crash Bandicoot guy, and then there was the Heavy Rain guy.
There was one guy on there who was an indie developer.
Oh, that game! They revealed that game. It's like the Watch.
Braid. Was it Braid guy?
It might be Braid, but it was called like the Watch or something. And
yeah, but the fact that he was there alongside all these massive games companies is a good sign for the PS4, like you say.
Well, to go on a bit of a tangent, I'm just impressed by the PS4 in general, because I watched that same conference, and it seems like Sony they're actually making smart decisions. Because throughout all of the PS3, they were making kind of not great decisions. But I don't know what your thoughts are on the PS4, but I'm pretty impressed by it at this point.
I like the look of it, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because at this point in time, I think it's worth mentioning that Microsoft are definitely losing against Sony in this next generation race already.
Yeah.
Of course, they haven't revealed the new Xbox, but people are really liking the PS4, and everything that's announced about the new Xbox or reported as rumours, everyone hates. So it's going to be kind of interesting how this all pans out by the end of the year.
Yeah. I want to see how things change. And knowing the internet, things will change really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, most of these rumours are... Yeah, because Microsoft just have to, make sure they're making a good console. Or just make it really cheap. I'll buy it, and if it's really cheap,
yeah,
forget about it. So yeah, so that's it for the gaming news. So, going to quickly look at what new games are coming out. I'm not very good at keeping up with the new games. There was a game called Defiance that came out 2 weeks ago. Completely missed that game out. But I don't really like the look of it anyway.
You can't win them all. That's fine.
No,
give yourself a break.
I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I can't be talking about games in a gaming podcast. I'm busy. Yeah. So the two games that are coming out, the first one's kind of embarrassing for us Brits because it's Fire Emblem Awakening. Now this came out in February in America, and I think it came out last June in Japan. So, I mean, you said before you don't have a 3DS, but it's kind of weird that we're still living in a day and age where games don't get released like across the world still.
It's so weird. Like that's always been the way, isn't it? Why hasn't that changed yet?
Well, I think
everything else has changed in gaming.
I think it is changing because Pokemon X and Y are being released worldwide on the same day. But I think this is... I think...
Is it a one-off?
Yeah, I think because Fire Emblem don't really sell that well. The only reason it gets released over here is because of Super Smash Brothers, because people like Marth and Roy, and Ike, I think he was called in Brawl. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love Fire Emblem games. I've never really played one properly, but I played it once and I enjoyed it. So this is going to be like my first Fire Emblem kind of game that I'm going to pick up day one and play it. So, and it's also nice to be using my 3DS because I think we're about to hit the big wave of 3DS games coming out. Because you got Fire Emblem, Donkey Kong, Luigi Mansion 2 just came out, Mario Golf, so it's definitely looking good for the 3DS, I think.
Good lineup, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. So the other game that's coming out also on the 19th, because Fire Emblem's coming out on the 19th as well, is Injustice Gods Among Us. It's kind of funny that this game's coming out the same week Batman got announced. There's a lot of DC stuff going on this week. So, do you have any interest in this game?
Yeah.
That's a yes. That is a definite yes.
Definite yes.
You're there day one.
I know a friend who's kept on bugging me about it because he loves all that kind of superhero crap. But I've never really been a fan of fighting games.
No, I'm in the same boat. This game, it does... I watched the trailer and I wasn't really that impressed, but... Because the thing is with these superhero fighting games, they keep pushing them because it's a really good idea. Just having a superhero fighting game where you can be Superman and you can punch Wonder Woman in the face. That kind of Super Smash Brothers appeal where you can punch Pikachu in the face as Mario. But they never seem to get it right. So this time around they got the people who made the reboot of Mortal Kombat that people seem to like. They're making this game, so maybe this one will be pretty decent. At point of recording, reviews haven't really come out about it, but I won't play it because I don't like fighting games. But it'll be cool that if there's going to be an actual decent superhero fighting game out there.
I don't think it'll be a game that I pick up and play by myself. But it sounds like a game that would be good to go around to mates and play some co-op. And all play as as a team in a group and things like that. Superheroes always cool.
Yeah, people love superheroes. But did you ever play Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe though?
No.
Because that was terrible. I did kind of play that. Yeah, with the fighting games, it's so particular how good they are. It's a very fine line, I think, between a fighting game being really good and being really fun, and then it just being a bit too broken, characters are being annoying, and this one was just on that side of this isn't really that enjoyable to play. I mean, it was kind of a really dumb idea to have Mortal Kombat versus, Superman and Batman. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this one looks better, so maybe it'd be pretty decent.
Maybe.
Probably not, though. But anyway, the last game I'm going to talk about, it's not coming out this week, but it's Shovel Knight. Now, of course, I would say most people are kind of a bit sick to death of Kickstarter, It was very popular last year, a lot of projects kind of got funded and things like that. But this game actually looks really good. It's an 8-bit game that you play a knight with a shovel, hence the name. And it's kind of like...
Oh, that's why it's called Shovel Knight. Okay.
Yeah, it's brilliant. They really pushed the bow out with that one. But yeah, so it's like Mega Man pretty much, but with the Shovel Knight guy. And I funded it because if you pay $10, then you can get the game on PC. But if you pay $15, then you can get it on Wii U or 3DS. So I paid $15, and I mean, it's the first game I've actually funded, because I don't want to slag off Kickstarter, because overall it is a good thing, but I haven't seen any real results from any of these Kickstarter projects.
Yeah. You think, oh, that sounds really cool, and then you kind of forget, and then it's like, well, what was all that about? Where's that gone? Oh.
Yeah, because, they have to obviously seem legit for you to give them the money, but I mean, I don't know, the thing I don't really like about Kickstarter is that they'll be like, we need this amount of money to make this, and then they get like 10 times the amount, and I don't get why people are still giving them money when they've already reached their, what they wanted. I
mean, looking at this Shovel Knight, their goal was $75,000. They made $311.
Yeah, they always make, if a project looks good, it makes so much more than it should. Now, the reason why I still like Shovel Knight and I do want to play is because it looks good, but they said for every they set like new goals for themselves, so it's like
stretch goals, yeah.
Yeah, the stretch goal. So if they hit like a certain amount, then there'll be a new playable character, or things like that. So that's pretty cool, and it's why I supported it, because this one actually seems like, yes, I'm actually going to get to play this cool game because I donated, rather than I hope that comes out someday and somehow I get something from it.
Yeah, when they're interactive and they post updates and they say, okay, now we've got this much, we can do this, it's always a good sign.
I mean, it's kind of interesting to see behind making video games, although I think it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword, because because people don't really know how video games are made. I think it's a bit more messy than you would kind of think. So I think sometimes companies don't announce stuff because sometimes it'll probably just get delayed, and I'm sure hopefully it doesn't happen with this game, but it's coming out December 2013, I think, is their goal, and they already had a demo at PAX, which looks really good. So yeah, this one should be a good title, and if you want, you can still go donate to their PayPal, so go look it up.
Give them more money, go on.
They deserve it, they definitely do. They don't give me money. Just send me money. I'll make you a game.
Set up a PayPal for this podcast.
I should.
Invest in professional kits and stuff.
Yeah, I've already got all the equipment, but I can get a soundproof studio or something like that. Have a band, like one of those late night shows. Yeah,
like late night Conan O'Brien stuff and David Letterman.
Have him play the Time Splitters 2 theme, like every time, like live.
And you can, like, when you want a little witty remark, you can go over to him and say something.
Yeah, whenever a joke bombs, I can just smile at him and make him laugh. Because I'm paying him, so he better laugh at my jokes.
Okay, well, that's the future of this podcast. Determined.
Done. Next week, expect a full live band.
Orchestra.
In studio. Because obviously I'm going to make so much money. So that's it for gaming news and current games coming out. So we're going to go on to the topic of the podcast. Now, the topic of this week, it's come out, I thought of it because I've been playing Medal of Honor Heroes 2. Expect the review later this week. And I'm not a big fan of it. So the topic is going to be, were the World War II shooters any good, and did they kind of disappear too soon? Because, I don't know about you, but I have fond memories of playing the PS2 kind of World War II games.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I have a bad memory. But, yes.
Yeah, they seem to be good. You had Call of Duty, you have Medal of Honor, Brothers in Arms, and then you kind of had like the throwaway ones, but They were good. So it's because what happened with these games, it was on the PS2 they were everywhere. They were the big series. It's kind of weird to think that World War II games were like the games, at any point in gaming history.
Especially now, yeah.
Yeah, you just can't even imagine someone releasing one. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing about it. That they just stopped. Like, completely stopped. There was 2007, there were 3 Medal of Honor games released, and then there was no more until 2010. And it's kind of... I mean, overall, I want to say it's a shame, because Call of Duty World at War came out, which I know you've played, and that was actually really good. So I would have really liked to have seen more games like that still come out in this generation.
I've got it right next to me, actually, and yeah, I think if they kept going with that, they could have... I think it needed a cooldown period, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, but
I think it's maybe about time to bring it back, yeah.
Well, but yeah, because that's the thing. Gaming doesn't work like that. That's the main problem here. It doesn't work on cooldowns and then coming back up. This is the new thing, and then we're going to make so many different games because one game was successful. We're just going to rip that off, and then when it's dead, and we'll move on to the next thing. And that happened with music games, but I mean, who really cares about that, honestly?
Oh.
But well, a bit of a tangent.
Where did they go?
Yeah, Activision actually really did a good job with the music games, I think. It's a bit of a tangent, but because they milked it for all it was worth and then said, we're done. Nobody's buying them anymore. Done. And they made
What was
so
one
much
of the
money.
last things they did? Was it DJ Hero?
Yeah, there was DJ Hero 1 and 2.
That was kind of like this isn't working anymore.
I saw it in HMV for £8. DJ Hero 2 and the turntable.
And the turntable, oh, blimey.
Yeah, I so almost brought it, but I wanted that £8 more than I, wanted to try out DJ Hero 2. But yeah, so this kind of happened with the World War II games. Now, I think Medal of Honor are to blame here, because like I said, there was 3 Medal of Honor games in 2007. And which Medal of Honor games have you played out of the ones that came out in that period?
Ooh.
Because there was Frontline, there was Rising Sun.
Rising Sun sounds familiar. I honestly can't tell you anything about the games really, but I remember playing. I remember playing some of them, and I did like them. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking though, because when I was playing Heroes 2, I was like, there isn't that much here that's different from the other ones, like the other Call of Duties or the World War II ones. So I want to say that they were actually pretty bad, or they just haven't held up that well. But because that was what was going on, and there wasn't really any other first-person shooters, that maybe that was the only reason they were successful, rather than being great games.
Yeah, I think they're just kind of all blurred together. They're just like one giant blob of games.
Yeah, because there's so many different ones. You got Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, but you've got Call of Duty Finest Hour, which was the console version of 1, and then you got Call of Duty Big Red 1, which was made by Treyarch and was the console version of 2, and then you got Medal of Honor Allied Assault. I don't know how I know all this, but you got Frontline, Rising Sun, European Assault, Vanguard, Heroes 2, and Airborne. And I mean, just listing those games there, you can kind of see.
Very well done.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. You can see why they went away, because these were released in like 4 years. All those games within like 4 years.
Yep.
It's just not. Yeah, it's just not good, because I mean, the only reason why I kind of well, not upset, but kind of annoyed about all this, because World at War was a good game. It was good.
I loved that game.
Yeah, it was.
Last mission on that, great.
Yeah, that was a really cool kind of thing. But because what made that game good is that it was a mix. It was the engine of Modern Warfare 1, which was a great engine, with the whole World War II kind of aspect to it, and having that setting. Because I think the problem with the PS2 ones is that they were really slow paced and kind of a bit dull.
Yeah. Which
for a game based on World War II, that big kind of war where everyone died, You kind of need it to be action-packed and explosive and kind of really go into the fact that, yeah, people were kind of slaughtering each other and it was a bit mental back then.
You say that, but I've always read a lot of comments that say, especially on places like Reddit, people say, oh, I'd love a game, a World War game that was, you see behind all the shooting, you see a bit more every day, like you're just with all the other soldiers and it's a bit more low-key. And they say that they'd play that. I bet that would bomb.
I think that would bomb. But, I mean, World at War had a good mix, though. Like, that one level where you were sniping, and you had to, in Stalingrad, and you had to go through all the bodies at the beginning.
Yes.
That was a great mix of, showing people dead.
Do you know what else made World at War really good?
Go on.
Gary Oldman.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to love Gary Oldman.
Oh, he's so good, that guy. Have you heard his actual talking voice?
It's so light, and you don't expect it to come from that guy.
He's horrendously English. It's mental. It's like there's actually a lot of actors. Like, do you watch The Walking Dead?
No.
Oh, okay. Have you heard anything or like the characters?
Yeah.
Well, the Rick and the Governor are both British.
I know who Rick is. Is he really?
Yeah, he's English.
Wow.
And it's like it's so weird because obviously we're British, so we don't hear it. But when you kind of hear him go from American to British, he does sound a bit like a pansy. It's similar to our accents, but it's like, yeah, that is a bit.
Oh, imagine how people felt when they heard Hugh Laurie with his British accent.
Yeah, that must have been a bad
day.
Who
is this man now?
He's not House. He can't cure anyone. He doesn't know. But yeah, Gary Oldman was great in that game. Because here's the odd thing though, that have you seen Band of Brothers? It was the big HBO series that came out about.
Did that have David Schwimmer?
Yeah, that had him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that kind of did the whole looking at a group of soldiers and what they went through, and it was fantastic. But because with modern gaming, you can have actors and you can do more stuff with like a story with cutscenes. I would have really liked to seen something actually go into like a Band of Brothers style kind of game, but because the genre was dead, it just never happened. And it's just kind of a shame, really, because Brothers in Arms was actually based off Band of Brothers, or the same people, and that wasn't very good. But I mean, that's Gearbox for you. But it's
you
just
don't like Gearbox.
I really don't like Gearbox.
That's fine.
Are you a fan of Borderlands or Borderlands 2?
No.
Yeah, well,
I'm indifferent, we'll say.
They're like the only games that they've made which are meant to be good, and they're really like take all the bad parts of an MMO, make it look like Jet Set Radio, and boom, there's Borderlands.
Wait. Gearbox did Colonial Marines, didn't they?
Yes.
I can hate them. Alien is one of my favourite films. I can now hate them. It's fine.
Have you played it?
I've seen really bad videos of it.
You should definitely play it.
Do I have to?
Well, yeah. It's really bad. It's really cheap though.
Is it already that cheap?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I brought it for £40, right? When it first came out, because I thought, why not? I guess I was feeling really dumb that day, and I had to trade it in because I beat it in a day, and the most I could get for it about a couple of days later was £13.50 from Amazon.
Oh, ouch.
Like, Asta trade-in games, they would not accept it at all. I was just like, please take this, I just need you to have this, it's in my life, and I just need it to go away. Can you just please take this?
That's awful.
Yeah,
that game's awful.
That game's really bad. It's kind of a bit embarrassing, but yeah, so back to the World War II shooters.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah.
Of course. You got to go on a bit of a tangent sometimes.
We're talking about Gary Oldman and how amazing he is.
Oh, he's so amazing. But no, back to the World War II shooters. He is amazing, but yeah, it's just, that's my biggest problem, that they could have done something cool with it, and World at War showed a lot of promise with that kind of thing. Because here's my main problem with those shooters in general. They don't really go into actual history of World War II. Now, of course, anyone that's gone through the schooling system is probably, a bit sick of it, but there is a lot of interesting stuff they could have done, but none of them. Medal of Honor didn't really go into it, Call of Duty didn't. They're all like based off stuff that really happened, but you don't really get any sense of, okay, did this really happen? Because you're just one guy mowing through Nazis, and that's it. It's kind of a bit silly.
Were there any World War One games where you played a game of football with Germans at Christmas? No.
Well, it's ridiculous, you know. I'm hoping for some DLC for World at War, where you just kind of everyone has flamethrowers, but you're playing football. You know.
Yeah.
Have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that game, yeah, the flamethrower mechanic, that was something people were saying you couldn't do anything new with World War II shooters. They were done. They were kind of dry. They were dry, you know. But then that game came along and it introduced the flamethrower mechanic and burning enemies out.
Yeah.
It was horrendous, but it was something new and different.
The only thing that didn't really work for me in World at War, I think, was the tank missions.
Yeah, I mean, Treyarch just they love tank missions. I don't get why, but
yeah,
I mean, it's a way to mix it up, I guess.
I suppose it needs, break it up a little bit.
I don't think there's actually any games that have done tanks that well. I mean, I
just don't like tanks in general.
No, not a big fan. I mean,
No.
Battlefront did it pretty good, I have to say.
Ooh.
But they're like sci-fi future tanks.
Yeah, that's different. They're fast and stuff. Well, not fast. If you're on the little speeders, that's what. There we are. That's what World at War needed. The speeders.
I think most games need the little speeders. Just
that's true.
Not explained. They're just there for no reason. You know, people...
Easter eggs.
Exactly. But it's at the beginning of the game and isn't hidden at all. You
can
just jump on it and go. So
it's a very bad Easter egg.
Yeah, I mean, this is going back to the gaming thing, but we can talk about this whole LucasArts thing because you mentioned in one of your parts of the Star Wars Force Unleashed Let's Play, available now on MrMuckluckable's channel. You can go check that out if you want.
Nice plug.
I know, it's so smooth and natural. That there was this footage of a potential game that LucasArts was making, and I watched that footage, and the thing that was alarming to me was how much it looked like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And there was a charm to Battlefront that, okay, you were doing these battles, but it was kind of it wasn't that serious. And then I saw this footage and it seemed to be taking itself way too seriously.
It's that effect, isn't it? That massive effect of Modern Warfare and Call of Duty and all these shooters now. It trickles down into everything.
Yeah, I just wish gaming didn't work like that. You guys probably won't notice, but I'm not ashamed of it. I just paused the recording to go to the toilet.
It was seamless.
It would have been, because I paused it just right, so you wouldn't notice. But I'm bringing it up because honesty. You know, I'm all about the honesty when it comes to this podcast, really.
If we're not honest, then no one's going to care.
They wouldn't call me Honest Tom if I wasn't honest.
But
yeah, that's a good one. Not sick of that joke.
Liar Tom? Doesn't really work as well.
No. Scumbag Tom, maybe. It's got a ring to it. So I think that's about it for, the World War II kind of discussion. Pretty much, my views at the end of the day, it's a shame that it had to end that quickly, but it I think a lot of those games don't hold up at all, and you can kind of see why it went away, but there's still a lot of potential for a good World War II game out there.
Maybe the only chance possibly we could get to see another one is if there's kind of this nostalgic revisit for some reason.
Maybe they re-release the Medal of Honor games in HD, and then people actually those games were bad. Actually, they might be thinking there, but maybe they remake them and make them actually good.
Yeah, and then that will fuel more people back to the genre.
Well, the interesting thing about those games, though, is that I was reading about this that. It's all that Steven Spielberg is the creator of Medal of Honor.
Is he?
Yeah, he wrote... the first game was just called Medal of Honor, and it came out on the PS1. And he wrote that game.
Oh.
So it was pretty much him and EA did a deal where he's like, well, I'll write a World War II game for you. Because that was around the time when he was big on World War II.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, then a couple of years after it was Band of Brothers. So Medal of Honor is all down to old Spielberg.
Oh, he's done so many things, that guy.
Just such a talented, wonderful man, I have to say.
He also did that game on the Wii, though.
Boom Blocks, I want to say.
Boom Blocks, yeah.
It looked fine.
Hits and misses.
He should just stick to human suffering. He knows about that. He can...
Schindler's List, he knows about suffering.
Jaws, that poor shark dies in the end.
E.T., that's... If you really look into it, that's a horrible film.
That weird brown midget, wants to go somewhere, I don't know. I've never seen it before.
Trapped on Earth, it's horrible.
Heard good things, though. And yeah, and also it's interesting because it's all Infinity Ward created the whole World War II thing, because they were part of EA, and they made Allied Assault, which was the really popular Medal of Honor game, and made it a franchise. And then they left, made Infinity Ward, and made Call of Duty. So you can blame them pretty much.
That's weird.
Yeah, they're real trendsetters. They were like, we're doing World War II stuff, and then it was World War II stuff. And then they were like, we're done with that, we're doing Modern Warfare stuff, and now it's all just Modern Warfare stuff because of them.
So does that mean that we expect this whole Modern Warfare stuff to be wiped out by something they do in the future?
I would think so, whatever they're working on next. Although it's not going to, Battlefield's going nowhere, so... But I don't think there's no need to slag off Battlefield. I think it's before I go into that rant, I think it's time to end the podcast.
Okay then.
So first of all, thank you very much, MrMuckluckable, for joining me on this episode.
No problem. Lovely.
I think it went very well. Probably, I don't know. Can't really judge. It's the listeners that will judge.
Unless we get any horrible, hateful comments, I think we did just fine.
We did slag off the internet, and I remember, and I quote you saying, "I hate everyone on the internet. Come at me, bro."
Can we censor that possibly?
No. It's
damn.
it's the honesty thing. I'm afraid we got to keep it raw.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to stick to that, or people will come at me, and heaven forbid that, because I've been nothing but gracious to everyone on the internet.
Okay, damn.
So,
well,
yeah.
I'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a happy ending after all. So, of course, go over to Mr. McLuckable's channel, where you can see Let's Plays of Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Although, I don't know if you'll be finished with that by the time this comes out, because this comes out on the Tuesday, but you'll be close anyway.
Very close. Yeah, very close.
Yeah, and then also Minecraft videos. If you want to see some Minecraft videos, he definitely does some good ones.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, well, I'm just a nice guy. Also, are you doing something else at the moment? I should probably let you plug your stuff, because you kind of know a bit about it.
I'm trying to get Star Wars done so we can start Destroy All Humans. There you go.
There you go. And yes, of course, you got all your older Let's Plays. You got The Simpsons game, Time Splitters Future Perfect, Destroy All Humans 2, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, Beneath the Still Sky. I'm trying to get them all here.
You're doing really well. I can't remember them.
Well then, of course, Star Wars. What did you do? Simpsons
Maybe...
Hit and Run.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's it.
Did you get Bond? Maybe if you missed
Bond,
that's a good
Bond.
Thing. That's maybe a good thing, though.
But we don't talk about Bloodstone.
No.
Bloody PGR.
Oh.
That's for another podcast, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you guys out there next time.
Bye-bye.